Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Tales of Herding God Part 58 based on novel. So let's start. The three cult heavenly kings exhausted their strength to barge out of heaven's lightning restricted area, only to see Qin Mu's figure flickering repeatedly and becoming smaller as he went further and further away from them. The three of them let out sighs of relief. If I knew this mission was so hard, I would definitely not take it. Heavenly King Lu wiped the soot off his face and muttered, "The sacred cult master of this generation is too unexpectable." The other two elders also had the same sentiments. Heavenly King Sha said, "Luckily it has finally ended. For sacred cult master to reveal his outstanding talent at such a young age is the fortune of our sacred cult. Now that this has ended, we should go investigate the matter regarding Heavenly King Qian." The hearts of Heavenly King Lu and Heavenly King Yu turned stern, and they replied with resolute expressions, "That's precisely what we're going to do, to investigate the one that laid their hands on our sacred cult." Heavenly King Sha had a grave expression and said solemnly, "What I'm most worried about isn't this, it's whether the teleportation flag of our cult has been leaked out. A year of many troubles. Take a look below. It seems to be the borders of Mount Prefecture. Mount Prefecture. Our cult's sacred ground has traveled to the top of Mount Prefecture." Heavenly King Yu's heart trembled slightly and he let out a murky breath. Mount Prefecture has revolted and the Emperor's relatives have rebelled with quite a decent-sized power. Now that the sacred cult master has landed in Mount Prefecture, I'm afraid. Saint Arrival Mountain was hidden among heaven's lightning-restricted area and levitated high above the sky. This sacred ground wasn't stationary and was always moving. There was a place called Viewing Abyss, and one could see the scenery below Saint Arrival Mountain. When they looked down Viewing Abyss, even the ants on the ground could be seen clearly. However, it was pretty rushed this time, therefore, they had no time to check Viewing Abyss, and ended up letting Qin Mu out of the sacred ground when it was passing by Mount Prefecture. "Hope the sacred cult master doesn't land in the battlefield," Heavenly King Lu muttered. Qin Mu fell from the sky and Hulinga executed demon wind for Qin Mu to travel on the wind. Not long later, he had finally touched the ground. His vital qi had been exhausted by half, but at least he was considered safe and sound. "It's been quite a long time since I've been to Imperial College. As the first Imperial Academician and an official conferred by the Emperor, I had only listened to one lecture." Looking around, he let Hulinga take out the geographic map of Eternal Peace Empire from his backpack. Looking at the topography of the mountains, he tried to find similar topography from the geographic map. It's Mount Prefecture. However, there's still quite a distance from the city. Right at this moment, he saw a ship floating by in the sky and Qin Mu's heart moved slightly. He immediately executed heaven-pilfering divine legs and ran after that ship along the foothills. That ship hung the flag of merchant, thus it was a ship that was dual-used for merchants and guests. Now, even with all the turmoil and chaos of war, there was still quite a number of merchant ships. There were still ships coming to and fro even in the areas of the armed rebellion. Qin Mu ran faster and faster until his feet suddenly stepped on the air. As he stepped on the air, he sprinted crazily through the sky as though it was flat land, catching up to the ship with just a few breaths' time, and landing on the ship in a flash. Swang, swang, swang. The sounds of swords unsheathing traveled out, as there were dozens of flying swords pointed at his neck just as he landed on the ship. The swords were everywhere in front and behind of his body. "Everyone, don't panic. I'm just trying to take the ship," Qin Mu raised both of his hands and said carefully. There were dozens of people on the deck of this ship, and most of them looked like merchants. There were also divine arts practitioners hired by the merchants, as well as a few officials. Those that had pointed the flying swords at his neck were those officials and divine arts practitioners. "Youth, where do you plan to go?" the coxswain, who was bare-armed and covered in tattoos, sized Qin Mu up and asked with an astonished expression. Qin Mu asked, "Is this the ship to the capital city?" The coxswain nodded his head and said, "To the capital city, the ship fare is 100 great abundance coins." Qin Mu was astonished and cried out, "So expensive?" From River Tomb to the capital city was only 10 great abundance coins. How did it increase by 10 times in a blink of an eye? The circumstances aren't good now and there are wars every day. The journey isn't going to be smooth, so the ship fare would have to increase as well. 10 times is already little, we are literally putting our necks on the line now, of course, you had to give more for our efforts. Qin Mu agreed. If he was to head to the capital city by himself and meet with turmoil and chaos on the journey, he would take over 10 days to reach the capital city. If he executed heaven-pilfering divine legs, he would require extremely dense cultivation, and he would completely exhaust his cultivation after running for just a while. Therefore, it was still more convenient to take a ship. The world is not in peace. I've heard that THG of Forest Prefecture has also rebelled. Qin Mu paid the ship fare and heard a few merchants discussing. An elderly mister said, THG is no small figure. Before relying on the imperial court, she was a great empress of Passion-Parting Palace, who had a world-shaking cultivation. Passion-Parting Palace had an enormous power, and there were many disciples from the palace, who had become generals in the Borders army. Now that Passion-Parting Palace's great imperial empress has rebelled, the world is going to be even chaotic. I've heard Passion-Parting Palace was the #1 big sect created by a woman, having power that surpassed many others and wasn't much inferior to the 3 great sacred grounds. Most of the female generals in imperial court have come from Passion-Parting Palace. 3 Wonders Castle has also revolted. 3 Wonders Castle was well loved by the emperor back then, and consort Che was from 3 Wonders Castle. I've heard she is the granddaughter of Che Zhongli, one of the 3 Wonders. Now that 3 Wonders Castle has rebelled, consort Che had been banished to the Cold Palace. Why have so many sects rebelled? Don't you know? 3 months ago, Daozi of Dao sect went to block Imperial College's gate, and Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor went forward to give a lecture. After that, there were people who could see that Imperial Preceptor was injured. I've heard that Imperial Preceptor's wound has started to smell, and he purposely used perfume to cover it up, yet it still couldn't cover up the stink of the wound. When the news was spread out, many sects still couldn't believe it. Then another story came out. Dragon Rider Sect Master had visited Imperial Preceptor's manor late at night to fight with Imperial Preceptor, and actually made it out alive. Dragon Rider Sect Master's ability can't be considered top-notch, but he had raised a dragon, which was transformed from a snake, barely considering him an expert of the Sect Master level. For Imperial Preceptor to not take even him down, it shows how serious his injuries are. Shush, stop talking about it. Those few officials are looking over. Qin Mu's heart moved slightly as he thought back to the time where Imperial Preceptor was giving a lecture. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor did look a little frail, but Qin Mu was proficient in the art of healing, and by buying rouge and powder frequently with Granny Sai, he could confirm that the flush on Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor's face wasn't from being sick and was from applying rouge. Stopped in before. As for using perfume to cover the rotting smell of the wound, from what these merchants had said, Qin Mu had indeed smelled 2 different kinds of smell back then, but he wasn't concerned at all. Learning how to distinguish herbs from apothecary since he was young, these 2 smells were from ordinary herbs and perfume. Qin Mu frowned. Imperial Preceptor's injuries had already healed, yet he still borrowed the chance to let the people of the outside world know that he was still gravely injured when he had come to Imperial College for a lecture, making the people who were thinking rebelling but didn't dare to rebel. Isn't this scheme a little too terrifying? It had been 3 months since Imperial Preceptor gave a lecture in Imperial College, and in this 3 months, the situation had gotten even messier. There were sects revolting and officials rebelling everywhere, making Qin Mu feel that he wasn't understanding Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor more and more. Imperial Preceptor had thrown the current political situation into such a disorder, and had already become such a hard-to-fix extent. Even if he was able to quell the rebellion, the strength of Eternal Peace Empire would still be greatly damaged. Furthermore, Eternal Peace Empire also had other enemies like Barbarian DI Empire of the Western Borders, and Wolfstore Country of the Northern Borders, being in a mess both domestically and abroad. Could Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor think of seizing the throne? He revealed an expression of doubt. With the Imperial family fighting with the rebels, Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor could take this chance to seize the throne and make himself the emperor when both sides suffered from their battles. However, Even though Qin Mu didn't know Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor well, he felt a person with such a breadth of mind wouldn't use such a method to seize the throne. Suddenly the ship began to tremble violently, and Qin Mu's heart leaped. He hurriedly leaned to the side of the ship to take a look and saw this ship sailing into a battlefield. This battlefield was in the air, and other than the warships, there were still flying cars, flying clouds, flying mounts, and all kinds of weird flying treasures or mounts. Luckily their ship was located at the borders of the battlefield, and when the coxswain saw things were looking back, he immediately steered hard left, and the ship almost tilted over. The ship barely avoided a warship and slid past the battlefield. Qin Mu stabilized himself and prevented himself from falling over. Suddenly a cavalry controlled a golden wings birds and flew over. From afar, he could see swords flying out into the sky from the sword cases, and swept towards the people on the ship. The coxswain immediately shouted, "We are merchants passing by and not soldiers." The cavalry turned a deaf ear, and the sharp swords shot towards the people on the deck. There were also a few swords slicing towards the sails, cutting away the ropes and instantly slowing the ship down hugely. Everyone on the ship felt their scalps turning numb. This was a standard battle between armies, and it was evident that one side was Eternal Peace Empire's army, which was pacifying the rebellion, while the other side was the rebel army. This wasn't simply just a sect creating havoc. When a sect created havoc, other than large-scaled sects like the Three Sacred Grounds, it was hard for the other sects to bring out the strength that could rival the Empire's army. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor's reform had not only reformed primary schools, colleges, and Imperial College, he had similarly reformed the military arms. In the army, the soldiers all had standardized spirit weapons, and even if they weren't opponents of the sect's disciples, as long as their numbers were greater, and could manipulate sword using chi, all of the soldiers could work hand in hand and release 10,000 swords simultaneously, creating an astonishing power. Other than the army working together, there were also land and sky combination, spells combining with all kinds of fighting method. 10 soldiers of 5 elements realm could easily kill a 6 directions divine arts practitioner by working together. All the famous sects in the martial world had no power to fight back when they encountered the encirclement and annihilation of the imperial family. Using this kind of fighting method from the army, there were still quite a great numbers of sects being eliminated like this in the history of Eternal Peace Empire annexing other countries. On the ship, Qin Mu stabilized his mind and was about to use his sword case, when he suddenly remembered the flying swords in his sword case had all been destroyed in Roland's Golden Palace, therefore, he had thrown his sword case away. Use Junior Protector Sword. Qin Mu avoided the flying swords that were stabbing over, and his vital chi went into Dao Tai Sak, and a crisp hum sounded out. With a gentle rotation with wave sword form, the flying swords that came flying over were all sliced into halves by him. The bodies of the swords landed on the ship, and only the handles were left. With his proficient sword skills plus the sharpness of Junior Protector Sword, it could be said that there was no disadvantage for him. Qin Mu let out a sigh of relief, and suddenly saw the cloth sack of those soldiers, who were on the back of the golden wings birds opening up. Buzzing sounds instantly traveled over, and countless of golden insects flew out from the cloth sack. It's the insect army. The other guests on the ship had a huge change in expression and cried out, "The insect army of Three Wonders Castle." The few soldiers stretched out their hands, and countless of flying insects grouped up and rushed towards the ship like venomous dragons, biting and tunneling into everyone they saw. Not far from Qin Mu, there was a big-bellied merchant whose cultivation wasn't weak, but he got infiltrated by the insects, which tunneled into his eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. In the next moment, the entire fat merchant deflated like a balloon, and only a piece of human skin laid on the deck. Under the human skin, countless of insects squirmed around and crawled out from his eyes, ears, mouth, and nose before flapping their wings to fly away. Everyone on the ship was overwhelmed. That coxswain was a divine arts practitioner with extraordinary abilities, but as he had to control the direction of the ship, he couldn't care for everyone. Three Wonders Castle had 3 wonders, the first being bugs, the second being medicine, and the third was beautiful women. Consort Che in the royal palace was an outstanding beauty from Three Wonders Castle. Three Wonders Castle was proficient in their medical expertise, having many famous physicians that were good at using venomous insects to treat illness. Meanwhile, the first wonder among the three was insect. The insect army of Three Wonders Castle was extremely terrifying. The people that were good at healing were also good at poisoning. The venomous insects of Three Wonders Castle were also a unique skill. After they were annexed by the imperial court, the emperor had ordered Three Wonders Castle to form an insect army, and most of the soldiers in the army were experts in controlling insects. Now that Three Wonders Castle had rebelled, it was evident that the insect army had already rebelled, and this battle was between the imperial army and the insect army of Three Wonders Castle. They had wandered carelessly into the battlefield and came under attack from Three Wonders Castle's insect army. Things were not going to end peacefully. It's impossible to guard against this kind of insects. Junior Protector Sword can't deal with so many insects. Qin Mu's scalp turned numb as countless of golden insects flew towards him. He immediately split his focus into two, and brandished his Junior Protector Sword at one soldier, while bursting forth his vital chi in his body. Countless of fine vital chi threads surged out from his hand to form something like a blazing red sun. His vital chi threads were formed from incomparably fine, vital chi swords, which transformed into a setting sun in this instant, floating in the air with a buzz. Yuyuan Imperial Studies, Sunset Sword Skill. That fireball spun rapidly, and countless of sword lights instantly burst forth from this setting sun. Each and every sword stabbed the bodies of the small golden insects, and in an instant, insects' corpses filled the ground around Qin Mu. At the same time, his junior protector penetrated through the chest of a soldier in a flash, before returned with a stab to finish off the soldier. Superb sword skill. That coxswain praised and let his assistant control the ship. He immediately made a move and took out a fire bottle gourd. After he opened the bottle gourd, a piece of fire cloud flew out from the bottle gourd and transformed into a 9-head fire phoenix, which opened its 9 mouths to spew out raging inferno that scorched countless of bugs to death. That 9-head fire phoenix spread its wings and shrouded the ship while spewing out trails of flames. Before the soldiers of Three Wonders Castle could even get close, they were burned into charcoal. This coxswain has a very deep cultivation, which is not inferior to little General Qin Feiyue. Qin Mu's heart moved slightly. The coxswain was a middle-aged man with a burly body. However, this flame divine art that he had unleashed was indeed extraordinary. He was probably a divine arts practitioner of 7 Stars realm. Right at this moment, the terrifying golden insects swarmed over like waves. A woman wearing a military uniform stood among them. With a point of her finger, the swarm of insects surged forth towards the ship. The second wonder of Three Wonders Castle, the girls sure are pretty. That coxswain gave a chuckle, and the 9-head fire phoenix came back into the fire bottle gourd with a whoosh. The bottle gourd grew larger and larger, turning into a huge object that was about 3 to 5 humans tall. With the mouth of the bottle gourd facing downwards, a terrifying suction came from it and sucked in the swarm of insects, which were surging over. That coxswain held madras with both of his hands and slapped dozens of madras one after another on the fire bottle gourd. All kinds of elegant runes instantly appeared in the air around the huge fire bottle gourd one after another before vanishing gradually. The swarm of insects was instantly turned into ashes in the bottle gourd. Qin Mu's eyes lighted up. Cultivation was to study, and this coxswain seemed to have quite an in-depth knowledge regarding runes and mudra. That female general of Three Wonders Castle was shocked, and the swarm of insects under her feet instantly stopped. Standing in the air, she blinked her beautiful eyes and said, "You are Fire Bandit Fan Yun Xiao. When have you turned good and become a coxswain?" The expression on most of the merchants on ship changed, and even those few officials changed their expression hugely. They all manipulated swords using chi to point them at the coxswain. That coxswain spat twice. "What do you mean turned good?" The female general of Three Wonders Castle sneered. "I've heard you were a relinquished disciple of Dao sect. Dao sect disliked you having improper intentions and chased you out from Dao sect, thus you became a bandit to plunder merchants everywhere. You have been wanted by the imperial court for quite a while. Now that you have become a coxswain, haven't you turned good?" That coxswain Fan Yun Xiao laughed. "I only work as a bandit during times of peace to rob people of their valuables. How can I be a bandit in these times of unrest?" During times of unrest, more money comes from being a coxswain than robbing people. General, please make life easy for me. The female general snorted coldly and looked around. The insect army of Three Wonders Castle was still fighting, and it wasn't good for her to engage in a fight with this bandit now. Even though Fan Yunxiao was a relinquished disciple of Dao sect, he had extremely high abilities. Even the imperial court could not catch him in so many years, so she might not be his opponent. Her insect cloud swept backward at once and she floated away. Fan Yunxiao let out a sigh of relief and ordered his assistant to drive the ship away. The merchants on the ship looked at this burly man with eyes filled with terror. Fan Yunxiao immediately said, "Relax everyone, I've turned good and won't rob during times of unrest. The officials can also be at ease, I've turned good, this ship is even recorded in the capital city." An official sneered, "Could this ship of Coxswain Fan be the infamous cloud-chasing pirate ship among the bandits? Please excuse my humble ship." Cloud-chasing pirate ship has also changed its name to cloud-chasing passenger ship. When the world is peaceful again, we'll then go back to rob. Fan Yunxiao went to the merchant, who had been eaten until only his skin was left, and frowned. "You have boarded my ship, and I should have protected you with everything I could, yet you still met with trouble. I can't take your ship fare." After he said this, he took out a coin pouch and handed it to the merchant's associate. Everyone on the ship was trembling with fear and felt that they had just escaped from a pack of wolves only to enter the tiger's den. This Fan Yunxiao had created trouble for merchant ships for many years, plundering people everywhere. Now that they were on his ship, everything pointed to disaster. "I've turned good." Fan Yunxiao bowed with his hands held in front. "I've really turned good. Don't worry, I'll definitely send you guys to the capital city." Everyone still had a face of terror. Fan Yunxiao was helpless and looked at Qin Mu while smiling. "Little brother's sword skill ain't half bad, you're from Yuan family." Qin Mu shook his head and replied, "Imperial College's Qin Mu. Senior brother Fan has great knowledge which I admire." Fan Yunxiao's eyes lighted up and smiled. "This is the first time someone praised my knowledge. Your judgment ain't bad. What's funny is that everyone is so caught up in cultivating and don't study. What they don't know is, cultivation is studying. Dao sect's ultimate arts were all derived from studying. Without knowledge, you can't even learn shit." Qin Mu had the same sentiments. If one wanted to learn the teleportation divine art, an extremely high knowledge was also needed. Dao Sword of Dao sect also required knowledge, and just now Fan Yunxiao's mudra also contained transformation of runes, which couldn't be achieved without profound knowledge. If you didn't go Imperial College and went Dao sect instead, Dao Master, that old man would definitely like you very much. Fan Yunxiao recalled the past and said dimly, "I don't even know which eye of that old man saw me having improper intentions. I was clearly very well behaved in Dao sect." Qin Mu gave a cough and asked, "Did senior brother Fan become a bandit after you got chased out?" Fan Yunxiao clapped heavily and exclaimed, "The old man is still the wiser one. He had seen that I would become a bandit in the future, therefore, he had chased me out to let me become a bandit. However, I was still very well behaved in Dao sect. How did he see it?" Qin Mu was speechless. He suddenly remembered something and asked, "Senior brother Fan, how's your algebra?" Fan Yunxiao became disappointed and said, "I was originally very good at it, but after being a bandit for all these years, I have returned them all to Dao Master. The computational canon of Mysterious Woman and computational canon of Supreme Mystery in Dao sect are all very profound and not easy to learn. If one could learn all of them, they could learn 14 writings of Dao sect. I had originally cultivated it." Suddenly a head popped out under the hold of the ship and shouted, "Robber Baron, our furnace seems to be faulty. Just now, the woman from Three Wonders Castle stuffed a few insects into our pill furnace when we were unprepared and they gnawed the pill furnace. How many times have I told you, stop calling me Robber Baron, I've turned good." Fan Yunxiao scratched his head and looked around. Everyone who knows how to forge tools and repair the pill furnace. At this moment, a dull boom sounded from the hold of the ship. A few apothecaries climbed out from the hold of the ship and said with black faces, "The pill furnace has exploded." Fan Yunxiao's expression changed hugely and cursed, "Damned woman, sneaking such a ruthless attack. Let's abandon the ship, everyone, jump down together." Qin Mu came forward and said, "I know how to forge tools and also learned the path of medicine. Let me have a look first." Fan Yunxiao was skeptical and followed him to the hold of the ship. The hold of the ship was already in flames and a few fierce-looking bandits were extinguishing the fire, minimizing the intensity of the fire. However, without the pill furnace providing medicinal energy to the ship, the speed had already started to slow down and the ship could fall off from the sky anytime. Qin Mu went forward and looked at the shattered pill furnace. This kind of furnace was the standardized pill furnace and was different from ordinary pill furnace. There was a shipyard in Eternal Peace Empire where countless of iron workers worked day and night to forge pill furnaces, which could be used on the ship, providing motive power to the ship. This kind of pill furnace burned spirit stones and dozens of herbs, transforming the medicinal energy contained in the spirit stones and herbs into surging energy, which was transported to the bronze beasts located at the aft of the ship. The energy was then turned into raging flames, which spewed out from the mouth of the bronze beasts, allowing the ship to rise. The structure of the pill furnace was extremely complicated, and was a unique treasure that the skilled blacksmith of Imperial College had created. Other than refining pills, there was also a complicated digestive system in the furnace, which was similar to a human body, turning the medicinal energy into energy. When these pill furnaces were spoilt normally, they could only find the blacksmith of the shipyard in Eternal Peace Empire to repair them or to change new ones. "Can it be repaired?" Fan Yunxiao asked anxiously. Qin Mu checked the structure of the pill furnace and had a rough understanding of it. "I had learned to smith in the past for a few years. I can forge a new one in an incense stick of time. How long can this ship last? If we use our magic power to sustain it, we can still last for an incense stick of time." Qin Mu immediately started to reforge the pill furnace. With vermilion bird vital chi in one hand and with black tortoise vital chi in the other, he swept up countless fragments of the pill furnace and smelted them into molten iron. Using black tortoise vital chi in the other hand, he quickly cooled the iron down and constructed the components of the pill furnace rapidly. Everyone was dazzled by the sight, and the ship suddenly jerked and began to descend. Fan Yunxiao couldn't care about looking at how Qin Mu forged the pill furnace, and hurriedly rushed out of the hold to activate his fire bottle gourd, transforming it into a 9-headed phoenix to lift up the ship. Even though he was a strong practitioner of 7 Stars realm and had dense magic power, it was still extremely tough for him to carry the ship to fly. As the time ticked by, Fan Yunxiao's face grew red as the pressure on him increased. It was harder and harder for him to persevere, and everyone on the ship was extremely terrified. If Fan Yunxiao couldn't persevere on, this ship would probably fall from a height of 10,000 feet, breaking them into pieces. Fan Yunxiao had already reached his limit, and couldn't persevere any longer. Suddenly, the 2 bronze beasts at the aft of the ship spewed fire from their mouths and the flames grew exponentially. The ship trembled violently, and its speed increased as it flew forward. Fan Yunxiao let out a sigh of relief, and took his 9-headed phoenix back. However, he saw the speed of the ship becoming faster and faster as everything went by in a blur. The speed of the ship was 3 to 5 times faster than before. He was bewildered, and when he saw Qin Mu walking out from the hold of the ship, he asked immediately, "Brother Qin, exactly what furnace have you forged?" Qin Mu said, "I have never seen the blueprints of the pill furnace, so I could only forge it according to my understanding. There might be some differences from the structure of the original pill furnace. I have only learned to smith for a few years." Before Fan Yunxiao could even speak, another loud boom suddenly sounded out as the ship broke through the air at a speed that was even faster than sound. "Brother Qin Mu, whom did you learn the technique of smithing from?" Fan Yunxiao was surprised and delighted. "From now on, who will be able to catch me when I go robbing?" Qin Mu now realized why Dao Master of Dao sect said he had improper intentions. The little fox in Qin Mu's backpack couldn't resist popping her head out to say, "This senior brother Fan, didn't you ever think that you would run a few more trips ferrying passengers to earn more money since your ship is 3 to 5 times faster now? There is no need for you to rob." Fan Yunxiao rolled his eyes at Hu Linga, why so troublesome? Now that my ship is fast enough, I would be able to rob fast enough. I could only rob once a day before, now I can rob 3 to 5 times a day. The money from robbing is so much more than ferrying passengers. During times of peace, there are more merchant ships, therefore, we need to rob during times of peace. Now that there's war, there are lesser merchant ships, therefore, we're ferrying passengers. Little fox demon, you don't have the brains for business. Hu Linga was completely speechless. The speed of the ship was too fast and the ship was already giving off creaking sounds. It was getting harder for the ship to bear the wind pressure caused from flying forward. Fan Yunxiao became nervous again, and fortified the ship with a few bandits, by using runes transformed by vital qi to mark the hull of the ship. Qin Mu's heart was alarmed. Now he was also afraid that this ship would crumble into pieces any moment. Luckily on the way there, the ship never broke down in mid-air. On their way there, they encountered a few more battlefields, but because the speed of cloud-chasing pirate ship was too fast, before the two sides could even see what it was, the ship had already flown past, inevitably making them indescribably stunned. Fan Yunxiao was also indescribably stunned. The pill furnace created by Qin Mu was simply too strong, and according to this flying speed, the 7 to 8 days' journey to the capital city now would just take them over a day. However, even though the pill furnace Qin Mu created was good, it consumed much more spirit stones and herbs. When they reached the capital city, it was already the morning of the next day. The ship slowed down its speed and the spirit stones on the ship were more or less depleted. The ship gradually descended and landed in the vehicles and mounts market in the capital city. The official in the vehicles and mounts market went forward to check, and his expression immediately changed hugely when he saw Fan Yunxiao. He was about to call for constables to arrest him when Fan Yunxiao immediately explained, "I've turned good, turned good. This is our ship's official record." That official took a look, and it was really an official record from the imperial court. He said bewilderedly, "Crooks like you should be beheaded. How could they allow you turn good?" Fan Yunxiao laughed dryly, "This is the grace of the imperial court. I'm moved to tears of gratitude." Qin Mu disembarked the ship, and was about to leave when Fan Yunxiao hurried over. Putting his arm over his shoulder, he chuckled, "Brother Qin, what future do you have in Imperial College? Why not follow me and we can do big business, no capital, huge profit." Qin Mu shook his head, "Senior brother Fan, I in Imperial College ain't like you in Dao sect. You are corrupted at heart, but Imperial College has a very good impression of me. I'm a good person with an extensive public reputation." Hu Linga was full of confidence. The term improper intention can never be placed together with young master. Fan Yunxiao could only drop his thoughts and grumbled, "With your talent, it's wasted for you not to be a bandit." "That's right, when I left Dao sect, I stole a computational canon of supreme mystery, and since you're interested in algebra, I'll give it to you." Qin Mu rose up with spirit, and immediately took over the computational canon of supreme mystery. "How can I take such a precious gift?" "Linga, take it quickly." Hu Linga hid the computational canon of supreme mystery in the backpack. Fan Yunxiao said, "Dao sect doesn't prohibit disciples to learn computational canon of supreme mystery. This canon is used for opening up the disciples' wisdom, and if they could learn the computational canons well, only then can they learn 14 writings of Dao sword. Back then I learned my computational canon, not bad, and learned the 5th writing of Dao sword. Before I could start to learn the 6th writing, I was chased out to become a bandit." Qin Mu asked curiously, "Which writing is the move? A dot threading the vast movements, yin and yang come and go within 2 modes from." "Brother Qin knows this move." Fan Yunxiao was astonished. "This is the 1st writing of Dao sword and the most simple move among the 14 writings. Dao sword becomes harder the further you cultivate it, but the power also grows. When one succeeds in cultivating the 14th writing of Dao sword, he would become invincible in this world, becoming a god. However, no one in Dao sect has ever succeeded." Qin Mu's heart jumped. The 1st writing of Dao sword was already this powerful, so how astonishing could the power of the 14th writing be? When he fought with Daozi Ling Xian, this was the move that was used by Daozi Ling Xian. He defeated Daozi Ling Xian. However, Daozi Ling Xian also managed to calculate the location of his weakness and injured him. He couldn't help becoming curious about the 14 writings of Dao Sword. After bidding farewell to Fan Yunxiao, Qin Mu walked towards Imperial College and thought to himself, Fan Yunxiao is an interesting person. I'm just not sure when such an interesting person would be detained to the market to be beheaded. Now that Patriarch has retired, I wonder who would be the next Grand Chancellor. Could it be Chancellor B.A. Shan? Chancellor B.A. Shan planned to change the disadvantage of Imperial College by establishing Imperial Academicians. In Qin Mu's heart, he was the first choice to be the next Grand Chancellor. However, the other people might not be as open-minded as him. It was extremely important for them to establish Imperial Academicians. It was the crucial point if Imperial College would be able to surpass sacred grounds like Dao Sect and Great Thunderclap Monastery. Only when Chancellor B.A. Shan became the Grand Chancellor could he continue to push for this reform. He came to the mountain gate of Imperial College, and just as he passed the mountain gate, he suddenly moved back and sized up the dragon Chilene, who was guarding in front of the mountain gate. That dragon Chilene was still lying below the mountain gate and looking forward motionless. However, the chains on his neck had disappeared. Qin Mu took a few more looks and the dragon Chilene continued to look forward without blinking at all. He looked like he was carved from stone, but veins started popping out from the neck of this dragon Chilene. What are you looking at? The dragon Chilene turned his head and roared at him in anger. Qin Mu asked curiously, the chain on your neck is gone, so why aren't you leaving? What are you staying here for? That dragon Chilene replied weakly, I've nowhere to go. Every day there are people feeding me here, so why should I go? I'm pretty comfortable here. Hu Linga smiled, big fella, are eating and drinking all you seek after? The dragon Chilene gave her a glance and felt quite a disdain. How does a fox demon know the ambition of a Chilene? You also won't understand if I told you. Hu Linga smiled to Qin Mu, young master, this dragon Chilene has turned dumb squatting here every day. Let's not bother ourselves with him. Qin Mu was about to walk up the mountain, when the dragon Chilene drooped his head down with a dazed look. My old master has retired and escaped with an old man, abandoning me behind. I have nowhere else to go, so I could only stay here to guard the gate. I still have to be bullied by a bull every day, and now even a fox is scorning me. There's no way to live on. Qin Mu walked back 2 steps and came to the front of the dragon Chilene and asked, Your Patriarch's mount? We're from the same sect. I'm the cult master of the sacred cult. The dragon Chilene looked at him with vigilance and sneered, I don't know any patriarch, or any cult master. I still haven't settled my scores with you for paralyzing me. Qin Mu smiled, when I've come to fight Daozi of Dao Sect, didn't you see me walking over with Patriarch? You should have known my relationship with Patriarch. There's no need for you to be wary. The dragon Chilene snorted coldly, then you paralyzed me. Qin Mu mumbled, that's the result of your asking me to beat that bull. I even got beaten up by that bull instead. You absolutely didn't tell me that the bull was so strong. It's better to squash enmity rather than keeping it alive. The dragon Chilene then snorted coldly again, then you took revenge by paralyzing me. Qin Mu probed, how about I get that bull over and you beat him up? The dragon Chilene didn't trust him obviously and said, you still want to paralyze me? Qin Mu was helpless and could only go up the mountain. This dragon Chilene was a little thick-headed and only remembered that he had paralyzed him. Suddenly, he stopped and looked back, only to see that dragon Chilene finally leaving his spot while following behind him step for step. When he saw him stop, that dragon Chilene also stopped. Qin Mu walked forward and that dragon Chilene also walked forward. Qin Mu stopped in before the jade cliff and looked back. That dragon Chilene also stopped with him. Qin Mu leaped up the jade cliff while fire clouds spawned under the dragon Chilene's feet, carrying his large body up the cliff. Qin Mu turned back and smiled, what are you following me for? I had only paralyzed you once and took some dragon saliva, is there a need for such a deep hatred? You paralyzed me so you have to provide my meals, the dragon Chilene said seriously. Qin Mu was bewildered and asked, didn't you say earlier that people bring you food every day? You can just stay at the mountain gate. The dragon chilene lowered his head. It was also Old Master bringing meals for me in the past, and after Old Master left, no one cares about me anymore. I have not eaten for over a month. The new Grand Chancellor thinks I am a rock, and the other directorates also think I am a rock. I am also ashamed to beg for food. I can't bring myself to do it. That bull even relied on Chancellor Ba Shan as his backing to bully me, saying that I cheated his feelings. Qin Mu saw his grieving appearance, which moved his empathetic heart. All right, don't feel so wrong. You can follow me from now on and I'll take care of your meals. I have the money. What do you eat? I only drink the water of Jade Dragon Lake and eat 1 bucket of Scarlet Fire Spirit pills every day. Qin Mu clenched his fists tightly, and Hu Linga also felt her liver trembling. Jade Dragon Lake was the lake formed from the gathering of the chi of the 9 dragons. There was a lot of water in the lake, and this dragon chilene could drink to his heart's content, but a bucket of Scarlet Fire Spirit pills was the killer. Young master, the little money we have is only enough to feed him for half a month. Hu Linga whispered, I think it's best not to shelter him, or else that little property of ours would be emptied by him. The dragon chilene heard it and immediately said, I can starve myself a little and eat half a bucket every day. No. Then a liter. No lesser than 1 liter. Qin Mu shook his hand and said, I'm an apothecary myself, and I can refine Scarlet Fire Spirit pills myself to save some money. You won't lose out in your meals, however, I can't raise you for free. The dragon chilene immediately cried out, You paralyzed me. Furthermore, we are from the same sect, you're the cult master, so you have the duty to raise me. I'm the mount of your patriarch. Qin Mu's head started to ache as he said, You have to give me some of your dragon's saliva every day, or else I won't be able to raise you. Dragon's saliva. The dragon chilene turned wary. Qin Mu explained, Dragon's saliva means your saliva. The dragon chilene had obviously thought of something wrong, as he let out a sigh of relief. That's good then. That's right, you had said earlier that you could bring the bull over to let me beat him up. Qin Mu warned, Don't win an inch and want a foot, otherwise, I will only give you half a bucket of Scarlet Fire Spirit pills every day. The dragon chilene immediately shut up, and followed behind him, as if he was afraid to lose this meal master. Hu Linga kept looking back to size up this large creature, and this fellow was even much higher than Qin Mu when he stood up. Qin Mu just barely reached the dragon's whiskers that were drooping down his chin. Adding the long chilene's tail of the dragon chilene to calculation, he was probably 40 to 50 feet long. This dragon chilene had strange decorative designs protruding out over his body, which looked like natural runes, giving off an awe-inspiring presence. No wonder he can eat so much. He's much bigger than Bull too, not sure how big he will be when he reveals his true form. Hu Linga was secretly astonished. Qin Mu brought the dragon chilene up the mountain, and came to Jade Dragon Lake to let this dragon chilene drink water first. He thought to himself, I still don't know how much a small bottle of dragon saliva is worth, however, it's a spirit medicine for healing injuries, so it shouldn't be cheap, right? I hope it can fetch enough to cover the cost of the herbs, otherwise my whole fortune is going to be eaten up. This video will end here.